Hello, I'm Jeff Jordan, and this is the story of the Colstrip Express, the fastest way to get Montana wind power to Seattle. We're south of Townsend, Montana, looking at the BPA Eastern Extension of 1983. I was a small hydroelectric developer in Montana at the time. We had small hydro systems selling power to Montana Power Company at 10 times the inflation-adjusted 2024 price of Montana wind power. Our power rate was based on the cost of power from Colstrip 4, the smokestack on the right here, and partly on my testimony at the first PURPA hearings in Montana. A couple years later, the power demand forecast was abruptly reduced, causing many ongoing projects to be canceled, including ours. This Colstrip transmission system was under construction to carry Colstrip power 340 miles to BPA's Garrison substation when they lost the last 90 miles of their right-of-way in the Montana courts. When the Bonneville Power Administration, the BPA, used their federal power of condemnation to build this 90-mile BPA Eastern Extension. In the flurry, the Townsend substation, an essential part of the marginal design, was never built here. The BPA wires were just connected to the Colstrip Partners wire on towers off to the right, and still are, which makes this system even less suitable for wind power transmission. That's frustrating because wind resources are located in areas with the weakest transmission systems, which is the purple area in the middle. You can see the unique opportunity to deliver purple wind belt wind 850 miles from Colstrip to Seattle along the green lines by converting them to HVDC, which is now essential to Washington's and Oregon's clean energy transmission plans. Western edge of the purple wind area and the Colstrip Express HVDC conversion are shown on this northern grid transmission map to set the stage. Well, here is the problem in a nutshell. Coal plants are closing and power demand is rising, so blackouts are looming. Green power is blocked by transmission shortage. New transmission development takes forever. So upgrading existing transmission is the best option, the best solution. And the Colstrip Express is a demonstrative case study. A year ago, the Western Power Pool outlined a concept for a West-wide transmission planning group because current transmission planning processes in the West had not identified any new transmission solutions that lead to building out new projects. Colstrip Express cost-effectively combines new power sources, transmission lines, and battery storage, without which the region's long-standing and reliable energy system could falter when people need electricity the most. No wonder the data center boom could imperil power supply within 5 years. Both the Pacific Northwest power grid could be pushed beyond its limit in just 5 years. The Northwest will struggle to keep lights on while also phasing out fossil fuels and meeting environmental mandates to protect salmon, according to a council report. There are a few of the many reasons why upgrading existing lines to HVDC is the best alternative right now. It allows quicker and cheaper action than any alternative, transmits wind, solar, battery, gas, nuclear, and/or coal power, incorporates recent grid-enhancing technologies and batteries, provides winter wind to balance summer solar, and allows keeping coal and gas online while adding wind. Here are the Colstrip and follow-on possibilities. The Colstrip Express HVDC upgrade is in red. The follow-on HVDC possibilities are in blue. After taking a ride on Colstrip Express, you might agree that this is the most actionable west-wide transmission plan. For example, the Pacific DC intertie upgraded to 10 gigawatts could include wind, solar, storage terminals using resources mostly on U.S. Bureau of Land Management high desert. Note the 80-mile radius includes BLM's Millers and Gold Point solar energy zones, which could each have a 3,000 megawatt or larger HVDC terminal, and includes over 2 million more acres of the blue solar variance areas identified in the Solar PEIS Record of Decision. The National Interest Electric Transmission Corridor Designation Process, first draft, has got a mountain northwest path following the Pacific DC intertie until it diverts to BLM's Gold Point Solar Energy Zone. Adding our suggested HVDC upgrade corridors for perspective. This is from the DOE National Transmission Planning Study released by the Department of Energy on October 3, 2024. Note there isn't much help for the Pacific Northwest. MT-HVDC shown here is the same multi-terminal HVDC technology that we are using in the Colstrip Express. They focus on adding new systems. We focus on upgrading existing systems. Doesn't this look like a more balanced map? In some overlaps, they are doubling up existing HVAC, which is the first step in converting to MT-HVDC, particularly when it is planned that way, as we shall soon see in detail. These October 15 BPA proposals were not included on the October 4 DOE plan. BPA's proposed major east-west and north-south 500 kV AC routes are very similar to the Colstrip Express and Pacific DC intertie MT-HVDC upgrades. There's a clear choice to be made here right now between investing in new 500 kV AC or in MT-HVDC conversions because Jobs Act provides $10 billion in new borrowing authority for the Bonneville Power Administration to increase regional electricity transmission capacity, which might immediately fund a 3,000 to 4,000 megawatt Stage 1 of the Colstrip Express. Meanwhile, congressional bills aim to spur grid-enhancing technologies with shared savings incentives from FERC. The Advancing GETS Act will motivate operators and developers to bring new projects online that expand transmission capacity. The Colstrip Express offers inspiration for the provisions of such bills. Along the way, total system opportunities add economic value and public support for the project. Batteries, essential for efficient transmission utilization, also facilitate co-consumption of wind over generation by Montana industry, which provides peak demand cost reduction, economic redevelopment in Montana coal communities, and profitable reduction of U.S. industrial CO2 emissions, which are unlikely to happen any other way. They obviously need to happen. The story has 3 chapters. You've seen Chapter 1. Chapter 2 details the existing grid-enhancing technologies that we will use in Chapter 3, our ride on the Colstrip Express, replacing conductors, insulators, tower tops, towers, and substations as necessary for the grid-enhancing conversion of a 1,500 megawatt coal power system into a wind/storage system for delivering 10,000 megawatts of firm peak demand power from Montana to Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. You won't want to miss that. Here we will tour the GETS, composite core conductors and multi-terminal HVDC systems, which enable our trip on the Colstrip Express in Chapter 3, using technology that is already in service and equipment we could order today. Start with reconductoring to upgrade both existing AC capacity and HVDC conversion capacity. The arrow points to the existing bundles of 3 conductors. Four picture is like the existing bundle of three. The after bundle of four uses the smooth new conductors to double power capacity without significantly increasing weight. Note the Colstrip transmission system portion already has bundles of four. We just have to increase the conductor cross-section and replace the insulators. The existing ACSR from the early 1980s is on the left, and the ACCC composite cord trapezoidal conductor on the right. We get 33% more conductor cross-section per conductor by eliminating the air spaces and reducing the core diameter. 4 of the composite cord conductors will have twice the cross-section area of 3 of the steel core and weigh little more. Rearrange the south wire prior to fit. The green arrow points to reconductoring to double the capacity of existing ACSR line, which also doubles HVDC conversion capacity. Belgium has set a fine example by reconductoring its transmission grid to allow for more clean energy use. ACCC conductor allows twice the power transmission within existing tower strength, reduces sag for higher clearance over ground, which allows higher design voltage, and reduces wind displacement of sagging lines for reduced right-of-way requirement. Trapezoidal wire allows smaller HVDC bundles for more bundle tower clearance, hence higher voltage and power capacity in the same space. Moving on from conductor upgrades to high voltage direct current power transmission. Here are the blue existing and red proposed HVDC transmission systems in North America. Note the 1970 Pacific DC intertie on the left. Europe has mostly subsea and offshore HVDC wind systems. Offshore wind around the world relies on HVDC to come ashore. 15 years ago, China was planning over 40 HVDC systems totaling 270,000 megawatts, including 25 at plus or minus 800 kV and 5 at 1100 kV. This is Figure 1 from a 2021 analysis by the Latau Group. I inserted the Gordian knot wiki at the top. The Gordian knot is used as a metaphor for an unsolvable problem and tying an impossibly tangled knot that can be got around by finding an approach to the problem that bypasses the unsolvable part, thus cutting the Gordian knot. In becoming the world's manufacturer, China's AC grid became their Gordian knot, limiting growth, so they cut that knot by using HVDC to bypass their HVAC grids. In the Chinese Gordian solution, HVDC connects to the renewable power source, bypasses the existing HVAC grid, and connects to an HVAC substation near power demand. Has only 2 terminals, one on each end, just like our Pacific DC intertie from 1970. Typical Chinese system of 10 years ago. I added the 1600 kV in yellow to the Siemens slide because some sources designate HVDC line by their line-to-line voltage, particularly with VSC that we will be using. You can see how the difference between plus 800 kV and minus 800 kV line to ground is 1600 kV line to line. This tower is 1,250 feet tall to span the Yangtze River. It's part of a 2,100 mile, plus or minus 1,100 kV, 12,000 megawatt system. Like all of the Chinese system, it appears to be scaled for further upgrades to higher voltage and power. The last 2 years, these MT-HVDC systems have been available at up to 3,000 megawatt at plus or minus 600 kilovolt to enable power transmission over 1,240 miles. The Colstrip Express is only 850 miles. This was Europe's first multi-terminal HVDC system. Stage 1 of the Colstrip Express will also have a 5-terminal system, including 2 wind farm terminals. Converting existing transmission corridors to HVDC is an overlooked option for increasing transmission capacity. I found this an excellent paper in terms of content, readability, and footnotes to related work. While typically not included in planning tools, such conversion is surprisingly cost-effective even over relatively short distances, and in some cases, may be the only way to achieve dramatic increases in the capacity of existing corridors, which the Colstrip Express will demonstrate. We have more options with the multi-terminal Glerdian upgrades. MT-HVDC connects to multiple power sources, bypasses the existing AC grid, connects to multiple AC substations, including not only major distribution substations, but also bypass substations that require capacity replacement, and new terminal substations, as required for local power demand or for local power generation. Shown on the left, these towers are called double circuit because they carry one 3-phase AC transmission system on each side. With MT-HVDC, we will use the triple bipole on the right with 3 3,000 megawatt systems for 9,000 megawatts total at 640 volts DC, or for 11,000 megawatts at plus or minus 800 volts DC. For example, Siemens commissioned the sextuple bipole MT-HVDC VSC system in India in 2021. In 2021, Hitachi commissioned this plus or minus 800 kV DC, 6,000 megawatt, 1,100 mile transmission line using older converter technology. Note the sextuple Siemens VSC system in the background. Pakistan also got into the act in 2021. Note how similar these towers are to the Colstrip Express towers. This is a snapshot of one of the converter halls, which houses 6 Siemens multi-level VSC converters, each having 4 levels. Looks like a better picture of the other side of the converter hall on the other end of the line. We will only have 3 stacks, but more levels. These are reported to be plus or minus 800 kV DC multi-level converters under construction in China about 2 years ago. Looks like 6 levels. Additional levels can be added later to increase operating power and voltage. They are suspended for earthquake survivability. Levels of less than 100 megawatt are reportedly economical using smaller converters for each level. Hitachi Energy to accelerate introduction of HVDC technology with Grid United for transmission projects to strengthen the U.S. power grid. In March 2024, these are 10-level VSC systems with more than enough for plus or minus 800 kV based on previous pictures. Looks like these people are ready when we are. Here's a summary of HVDC VSC system voltage figures. With 4 ACCC conductor upgrade on most of the existing towers, we could get 3 3,000 megawatt systems based on technology available 2 years ago. With 3 800 kV systems, we could go up to 3,750 megawatts, consistent with the systems shown in the last pictures. Say 10,000 megawatts for discussion. The Colstrip Express power line capacity calculations. Originally designed for 2,100 megawatt at 500 kV AC, although only WECC rated for 1,500 megawatts. We can use the ACCC conductor upgrade to double the 500 kV AC line design capacity from 2,100 to 4,200. And then we can increase that capacity 2.5 times following the Reed paper to 10,500 megawatts at plus or minus 800 kV DC. We can also consider more or larger conductors to reduce losses or increase capacity. is a good place to find more complete explanations. Siemens calls their version of VSC HVDC Plus. This 8-page PDF has a readable technical explanation of recent MT-HVDC VSC technology. The annual EU-funded Bridge brochure is the place to go for an up-to-date summary of development projects and how the developing technologies fit together in future HVDC grids. Just the thing if we want to design for the future. The Colstrip Express is a total system case study of a Montana wind energy system, which provides firm peak load power from Montana wind energy to northwestern utilities, while converting overgeneration to co-consumption or economically powering Colstrip industries, which provide economic redevelopment for coal country and reduction of U.S. industrial CO2 emissions. This system includes the conversion of existing power lines into a 10,000 megawatt MT-HVDC transmission system. Let's take a closer look at Colstrip and consider what it takes to create a next-generation project with broad public and private support. The area inside the yellow line will be reclaimed by the Colstrip partners, so will be available for redevelopment. Colstrip wind overgeneration creates problems and opportunities. Wind has overgeneration, that's too much power, much of the year, requires a battery to meet hourly power demand, and requires long transmission systems. We have the opportunity to turn overgeneration into co-consumption by sharing the required battery with local industries to profitably consume the overgeneration and provide demand response reliability. The 5 square mile reclaimed area in the white box is ripe for redevelopment with power switchyards and batteries capable of up to 10,000 megawatts for 100 hours. This is a rendering of the Form Energy battery system now under construction in Cambridge, Minnesota. It can provide 1.5 megawatts for 100 hours. Great River Energy will get dependable power from variable wind energy and reliability on a 5-day polar vortex when there is no wind. This is effectively a small-scale pilot demo of our Colstrip system in a similar climate. DOE has funded Form's construction of the world's biggest battery. This one will be 56 times larger than the Minnesota one, and maybe 180 times smaller than the eventual Colstrip battery. 500 megawatt of batteries could save Illinois ratepayers $3 billion. They may need 15,000 megawatts to maintain grid reliability. In fact, 4,000 megawatts of batteries saved Texas consumers $683 million in 2 days. They may need 20,000 megawatts by 2035. Batteries are now widely accepted as a cost-effective alternative to transmission to integrate renewables. In fact, energy storage is driving grid transformation. What can we do with a Colstrip battery? Deliver 10,000 megawatt peak morning and evening power to Washington and Oregon. Add nameplate capacity beyond 10,000 megawatts by increasing the transmission utilization rate beyond the 40% wind capacity factor. Provide 10,000 megawatts for 100 hours in a polar vortex. And enable Colstrip co-consumption system. Colstrip co-consumption system will turn overgeneration into co-consumption by local industries, creating opportunity for local green industry, illustrating a path to reduce U.S. industrial CO2 emissions, eliminate overgeneration transmission costs, while adding demand response grid reliability. We are about to take the co-consumption step on this McKinsey affordable, reliable, competitive path to net zero, stepping onto a new cost-effective total system model for integrating wind and solar into our economy. The McKinsey model has 4 requirements for each total system step on the path to net zero. We achieve emissions reduction with a wind storage system to replace coal and gas, affordability with co-consumption of Montana wind energy, and MT-HVDC transmission upgrades, reliability with MT-HVDC, batteries, and industrial demand response. Industrial competitiveness results from Colstrip Green Industries' low-cost power ecosystem, while other regional industries benefit from eliminating ratepayer overgeneration costs, including overgeneration transmission costs. Fortunately, the resources are here to meet those requirements: clean power, labor, land, water, and rail, in a pro-development economic environment. Aluminum steel plants fit in the natural industrial corridor between the highway and the railroad, which may eventually be home to an H2 green steel plant. Under this model, local industry consumption eliminates transmission costs. Local industry demand response has reliability value, which makes Colstrip a competitive place for green industries like green aluminum reduction, green iron and steel production, and green AI computer centers. Industrial emissions aren't falling fast enough to meet U.S. climate goals, and could soon be the nation's #1 source of CO2 emissions. Co-consumption addresses this problem. Currently, the most cost-effective way to reduce industrial carbon is to run industry on overgeneration of wind power, while providing demand response. The energy producer also benefits by getting paid for power that would otherwise be curtailed, which means shutting down wind turbines to avoid generating full power. The world's first major green steel project walks down $5 billion in funding, and construction is well underway. Like Colstrip, Boden in northern Sweden is a hub for electricity, railroad, wind energy, and soon for green hydrogen and green industry. H2 green steel will make profitable use of wind energy that would otherwise be curtailed, and of hydrogen from other sources. Here is a rendering of the fully built-out Boden H2 green steel plant of the future. They bought 2 one-mile plots to allow for duplicating this setup. Form is one of several using iron electrolysis to clean up iron reduction. To compete with fossil-fueled iron reduction, the cost of electricity will have to be very low, something like 3 cents per kilowatt hour. So Form is designing its iron electrolysis to integrate directly with variable renewable generation, ideal for our Colstrip co-consumption hub. Colstrip is about 15 miles from the U.S. long-haul fiber optic network, so might power green AI computer centers, which may be 9% of U.S. 2030 electric consumption. Here is a power flow schematic of the co-consumption hub at Colstrip. The battery is key to meeting both BPA and local industry demand from variable wind energy. The power flows would be dispatched by BPA, which is the Regional Balancing Authority. Oh, the Colstrip Express has the makings of a good project, because it appeals to existing public and private investor demand and offers a benefit to everyone related to the project. No loop power lines if they can be avoided, by converting existing power lines and by incorporating batteries. Firm, clean, economic power for utilities. Profitable co-consumption by green industries like green aluminum, green steel, green AI computer centers, which will reduce U.S. industrial CO2 and provide clean economic redevelopment in Montana. For example, the lower white box is the Alcoa and Talco aluminum plant from Ferndale, Washington, currently being scrapped due to high power rates. Now zooming in on the pink box. Colstrip 1 and 2, officially shut down in 2021, had 230 kV power lines through the substation. NextEra now leases this transmission capacity for their 765 megawatt Clearwater Wind project, 65 miles to the north. Colstrip 3 and 4 still use 500 kV AC power lines through the substation. In a 3,000 plus megawatt stage 1, a 1,000 megawatt clean aluminum smelter might fit in this space. The green steel footprint belongs to this rendering we've seen before. Now zooming again to the substation in the yellow box upper left. Google's latest pick shows the current connections at the Northwest Energy Colstrip substation. NextEra power comes in at 500 kV, goes through the transformers, and comes out at 230 kV. Now zooming out. This layout is consistent with the earlier co-consumption hub power flow schematic. The 500 kV Colstrip 3 and 4 lines connect to the 500 kV converter switch yard. Let's look back at these power lines from the viewpoint shown by the yellow arrow in the upper left as we leave the terminal. We've left the station and are looking back at the HVDC plus and minus 640 volt kV DC transmission lines on the left and the original blue pair of 230 kV AC transmission systems. Note the rails in the foreground and the stacks of the 4 coal plants on the right. We are incorporating Northern Grid and the Western Electric Coordinating Council graphics into our storyboard. And here is the storyboard for our ride on the Colstrip Express. You'll see it several times so you can relax and enjoy the ride. We'll cover the details as we meet them. The big red line is our trip on the Colstrip Express, the sequence of AC power lines to be converted into one MT-HVDC line, cutting our Gordian knot. Highlighted in the yellow dots, we've departed Colstrip en route to Broadview. This is a good picture for showing the 3 discrete HVDC VSC circuits. The Colstrip Express HVDC transmission setup is a mini version of the world's biggest ultra-high voltage line as of January 2019. The Broadview substation is 115 miles from Colstrip and 25 miles north of Billings. The HVDC conductors shown in red are reconnected over the substation to cleanly bypass the 500 kV section, part of cutting the Gordian knot in the Chinese example. The Broadview solar battery is now a SCOTUS test case. Supreme Court overturns FERC solar approval after Chevron's demise. Northwest Energy was forced to expand their Colstrip substation to connect the 60 megawatt max under PURPA of 1978. The solar battery system is up and running. We'll probably have a 250 megawatt MT-HVDC terminal here to pick up PSC's future Beaver Creek Wind Farm. Going forward, new wind power east of Colstrip has a higher capacity factor, is more valuable for reducing U.S. industrial CO2 emissions, and facilitates east-west power exchanges. This is an example of bypassing. The bundles of 4 and the tower tops look good for us. We are now traveling along the yellow dots through Townsend to the BPA Garrison substation. Crossing US 191 south of Harlowton, Montana. The yellow arrow is our last vantage point on 191. We will have a 400 megawatt MT-HVDC terminal here at PSE's Haymaker Wind Farm substation to connect both the wind farm and the Gordon Butte pumped hydro storage project. Here is a Haymaker wind farm news article by Tom Luty, who has reported the most about Colstrip and energy-related issues in Montana. This is the second wind farm to match the MT-HVDC circuit shown in Chapter 2. Beaver Creek at Broadview was the first. Here is a clip from the Gordon Butte website. Getting a little bumpier as we approach the mountains. The yellow arrow again shows our last vantage point, 40 miles north of Bozeman. The little white arrows follow the power lines. Note that this and every other highway crossing is perpendicular to the highway, minimize visual impact. We've come 250 miles back from Colstrip to Townsend, which is 52 miles past the Haymaker terminal. By leaving out the substation, they bypassed this one for us. Townsend proper is at the top of this overhead view. Lewis and Clark were here, going south up the Missouri River. Apparently too many people around here now to build a new power line or substation without a court fight. Good thing we don't need to. Here we go across the Continental Divide. All of this was done by the BPA using federal power of condemnation on mostly federal ground as an emergency BPA extension to the Colstrip transmission system. Crossing over I-90 from a respectable angle and distance, approaching BPA Garrison substation. We'll see the overhead view a few slides on. BPA Garrison is 340 miles along from Colstrip. It's a beautiful piece of work, and it grieves me to bypass the 500 kV section. But we just got to cut the knot, leaving a fully functional 200 kV substation, which can be upgraded by reconductoring 230 kV AC lines from BPA Hot Springs. White rectangle is a convenient location for a possible future HVDC VSC terminal. More on multi-terminal capabilities when we get the bell. The yellow dots are now on the 160 miles over the mountain from Garrison to Taft. The solid blue box indicates WECC Path 8 capacity is marginal. Going west, it is a choke point for wind-belt wind. Going east, it is eastern Montana's lifeline in an Arctic vortex. The Colstrip Express will answer both needs. Here crossing Montana Scenic Highway 1 north of Phillipsburg. In 1981-1982, we put small hydro facilities on line 8 miles south of here by upgrading the existing Phillipsburg water supply line. The yellow arrow on the upper left is our last Highway 1 crossing viewpoint. The yellow arrow upper right is the location of the tower crossing I-90 that we saw a few slides back. Notice this power line follows a high, rough path on federal land to stay out of sight and away from private property. An even wiser strategy now than it was 40-odd years ago. Our 81 and 82 small hydro facilities are located in the lower left. You think these weathered steel poles south of Missoula blend into the landscape much better than galvanized lattice towers? The yellow arrow is again our last viewpoint. We are passing south of Missoula and north of Lolo, Montana. 95% of these houses were built after the power line. On a topo map, the Highway 12 route is the obvious shortcut to the Dvorak, one of the waypoints for the Colstrip coal power. But it is a scenic highway, borders a wilderness area, and follows a famous part of the Lewis and Clark Trail. My father was a project engineer on this section of Highway 12, and I was born in Lewiston, 50 miles beyond Dvorak. Looking back east, this is the last chance to get a Google road view in Montana. White arrows again follow our route, over the mountains and through the woods. I-90 is in the lower left. Following the white arrows, we continue our path across the mountains, out of sight of the freeway. Now arriving at Taft, 160 miles from Garrison, 500 miles from Colstrip, 2 miles east of the Idaho border. Every tower requires a forest access road. I spent 5 college summers surveying and inspecting foreign road construction and believe the Forest Service will want the next power line to share the same set of access roads to avoid tearing up any more forest. And they would be relieved to get away with widening these right-of-ways if necessary. On the topo view, you can see why the access roads are so squiggly. It's steep around here and deep snow in winter, but substation sites away from private property with heavy haul grade to the freeway are rare. You can also see how typical the Taft geography is of this area. Chilco in the upper left is our next stop after Taft. Taft is an enclosed 500 kV AC substation with underground feeds to the tower because of the small lot available and deep snow in the winter. Taft's capacity is now mostly taken up with Garrison to Bell and Garrison to Dvorak. When we bypass both Garrison lines to Bell, the Hot Springs to Dvorak circuit can operate at full capacity. Very useful, as we shall soon see. This is the ground view of bypassing Taft on the way to Bell, shown along the red lines. The existing towers to Bell only carry one 3-phase AC circuit, so we have to double up the tower tops to carry all 3 bipole circuits. This common practice is called doubling up, or tripling up in our case. From Taft to Bell and on to Grand Coulee, we will have to replace all the tower tops and some towers. The purple ovals in the pictures show where the tops attach to the base tower. After the action, the tower will resemble the one on the right. In the 185 miles between Taft and Grand Coulee. The existing 500 kV AC circuit through Dvorak to Hot Springs and on to Great Falls can now be doubled up and reconducted to support increased capacity on both paths 6 and 8. Great Falls Express in blue is a possible follow-on HVDC upgrade to connect to the Pacific DC intertie. Lower Monumental is the third of 4 dams on the Lower Snake River in the Yellow Oval, which are to be breached as soon as 3,000 megawatt of firm capacity, like the Great Falls Express, can be found to replace them. Now reboarding the Colstrip Express for the trip between Taft and Bell. Next stop after Taft is Chilco on US 95 north of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We will have to replace 2 miles of these aluminum towers, maybe with weathered steel, like the ones we saw south of Missoula. Or these Texas towers might fit both in Chilco aesthetics and in the existing right-of-way. The aluminum towers are coming out of the mountains on the right through the rural residential area toward our vantage point on US 95 to the left. Starting from our last vantage point in the upper right, we cross US 95 and continue to join the diagonal BPA corridor. Good thing we have an existing right-of-way through here and on through Bell, because we'd be a long time getting a new right-of-way now. 95% of these houses weren't here when we moved to the area in '77. BPA Bell is just north of Spokane, Washington, and 600 miles from Colstrip. Grand Coulee Dam came online in 1942, and Bell fed the U.S. government Mead Works, which was bought by Kaiser in 1946, and is now the Kaiser Aluminum Mead Works Superfund site. HV lines in red are tapped to connect to the HV terminal. The red X indicates the disconnected 500 VAC line we are upgrading in the Colstrip Express. The HVDC terminal connection increases Bell's capacity and reliability. This is the bigger picture of what could be original HVDC battery power center if we act decisively. Now we have a short straight run from Bell to Grand Coulee. Note there is a 230 kV circuit on the right that might be replaced to save the 500 kV towers on the left. The base tower would have to be replaced, but it might look something like this. Grand Coulee Dam is 80 miles from Bell, 680 miles from Colstrip. Still one of the top 10 energy producers in the United States. 7,000 megawatt 500 kV switchyard and a 230 kV substation are located on convenient plateaus. Here's the Grand Coulee circuit diagram and topo map showing our upgrades in red. Our 3,000 megawatt MT-HVDC terminal connects directly to the 7,000 megawatt 500 kV AC switchyard. This is the end of stage 1, 3,000 megawatts of wind and or coal power from Colstrip to Grand Coulee. In stage 2, we convert 2 existing HVAC circuits from Grand Coulee to BPA Raver substation in Seattle. We have to bypass Columbia and Schultz along the way. Now zooming in to a general layout view of the green box in the upper left. This layout sketch shows the existing 500 kV AC power switchyard and the HVDC terminal on the same plateau. The conversion of the existing 500 kV AC double circuit to HVDC is shown exiting on the lower left. Zooming out for a more satisfying perspective of our convenient plateau location. Here is stage 2 leaving Grand Coulee, the spitting image of the 500 kV AC double circuit we converted in the 250 miles from Townsend to Taft. This conversion will run 170 miles from Grand Coulee to Raver in the Seattle area, again carrying 3,000 megawatt plus HVDC VSC systems. Note the second follow-on HVDC VSC possibility, a branch HVDC VSC terminal circuit from Grand Coulee to a Monroe terminal. We are now on the stage 2 only portion of the Colstrip Express from Grand Coulee to Raver. The first leg is shown through Columbia to Schultz. Now zooming in on the yellow box. This is WECC's Washington Central map. The big dashed line is the Colstrip Express, cutting through the AC Gordian knot along the most obvious path. The dashed purple lines are probably part of the ultimate solution, but that's another story. At Columbia, also called a capacitor station. Bypassing Schultz, which is north of Ellensburg, Washington, note more capacitors in the upper left. Only HVAC needs them. A stretch of yellow dots will take us from Schultz to Raver. Our familiar double circuit tower could be preserved from Schultz to Raver by doubling up one of the 500 kV towers on the right. Like this. In the actual stage 2, I believe the 500 kV double circuits will be kept in service all the way from Grand Coulee to Raver. It's part of another story. The yellow arrow is again our last viewpoint, and the white arrows follow the right-of-way. The northern right-of-way follows Highway 2 from Winton to Monroe. Arriving at Raver, which is the main 500 kV distribution substation for the Seattle area. It's 175 miles from Grand Coulee and 850 miles from Colstrip. Alternatively, the glaciers have left us a potential high and dry converter site, which would support the highest possible 500 kV AC primary distribution capacity using existing right-of-way, and would eliminate the need for a converter station at Raver. It might also allow new north and south right-of-ways, particularly MT-HVDC. As shown in Chapter 1, follow-on possibilities are shown in blue on your northern grid map. We will be more likely to get a wider right-of-way to upgrade an existing power line than to get a new right-of-way. As also shown in Chapter 1, the Pacific DC intertie, upgraded to 10 gigawatt MT-HVDC VSC, could include wind, solar, storage terminals using resources mostly on U.S. Bureau of Land Management high desert. The 850-mile Pacific DC intertie first operated in 1970 at 1,400 megawatts. Note the towers on the left could be replaced with the towers on the right to carry 3 times more power and have MT-HVD connectivity along the way. Hope you enjoyed the ride on the Colstrip Express, carrying over 10,000 megawatts of wind power using highly developed and rapidly improving technology. The open road to a green future. Let's put the pedal down.